Good afternoon. My name is Romain Jourdan. I'm leading the technical evangelist group here at Riverbed. So I've been working for Riverbed for more than 5 years now, almost 6 years. I started in the field. I was leading the pre-sales organization in Central Europe, based out of Switzerland, and relocated here 2 years ago. So today I wanted to share some enterprise use cases that we are solving for our customers, and also some of the use cases we discovered our customers are using our technology for. So we discussed that. So first of all, I wanted to start with this gentleman. I didn't know who he was 1 week ago. I'm just stealing the slide from one of my colleagues, because he had an interesting quote that saying that there are known knowns, so things that we know, and equally there are stuff that we don't know and we know that we don't know them. But there are unknowns. And today I wanted to discuss about the unknowns, because when the customers are moving to the cloud, in their journey to the cloud, they will discover a lot of stuff, and they were not prepared for that, or they were not aware that they could have any problems. So I would like to take the opportunity of having you guys as technical experts and trusted advisors to get your point of view on some of the use cases, and also if you feel that those are good ideas, help us to help customers. So first of all, I wanted to go on SD-WAN and discuss about the connectivity piece. So as Dante explained, we have an OEM partnership with Versa, and we are repackaging their offering into a product that we call SteelConnect EX. So we launched that product 2 weeks ago. So this is complementary to our current offering, SteelConnect, that we have rebranded SteelConnect CX. So for the past 3 years or so, we have attending a number of tech field days, network field days, events where we presented our SteelConnect. So now SteelConnect CX offering, which is designed to be for cloud-native customers, simple, really easy to use, one click to the cloud, meaning that you can deploy an instance on AWS, on Azure very quickly, and connect all your branches in a matter of seconds. So that's great. What we wanted to have with SteelConnect EX and hence this partnership with Versa is a stack which is ready for supporting our customers, and we are working with very large customers. So this is the architecture of the solution. So we have the director, which is the management plane. On the other side, we have the analytics server, which is collecting a lot of metrics from and telemetry from the appliances. And our appliances that we have branded, so this one is a SteelConnect EX, which is running the SD-WAN stack from Versa, as well as security. And on top, we are running our acceleration piece on it. So basically, this appliance is a SteelHead that we have converted into an SD-WAN stack, and we can run one acceleration.
So this box is running the Versa SD-WAN.
That's correct.
Underneath.
On top of as well as our WAN optimization, so SteelHead product. So
right. Yes. So you've got with the partnership with Versa, that's your substrate, and then you're running the SteelHead EX as a VNF inside of that stack.
That's correct.
Right.
That's correct.
Right. So that's your SD-WAN strategy going forward then?
Yeah, most likely. We have this nice product on the SteelConnect CX side, which has been designed for simplicity, but we discovered that enterprise customers have still a lot of requirements that are extreme routing and advanced capabilities, like in terms of scaling as well. So we keep developing the SteelConnect CX solution for customers who want simplicity, who wants to make everything much
sort of SMB, mid-market type solution, low features, simplicity, price points?
We do, yeah, and we do have large customers. I was taking care of very large customers in Switzerland. They have 1,800 sites, and they are deploying CX because it's simple and because they have simple requirements. They have branches with 5 to 10 users.
So it's not really a number thing. You're saying it's a feature thing.
It's a feature
The
thing.
CX, if you've got like a retail store and you've got 10,000 of them, CX still might be the right solution for you.
Eventually.
But if you might have 20 offices, but if you've got some really complex mix of application and you want to do highly granular traffic control and visibility, then you're going to come down to this path.
Exactly.
So-
Exactly. And for customers who just don't want only connectivity, which was what CX was providing, is still providing, but really want to replace their router, then EX is the solution for replacing a full brown router.
Right, because this box with the Versa functionality does the routing and the WAN connectivity, and then the EX comes in to do the features that you want to talk about here.
Yeah, exactly. So the core network services, everything that our Versa is very well known for in terms of enterprise routing, dual stack, IPv4, IPv6, segmentation, the fact that you can integrate with third parties via VRRP and also via standard protocols like MP, BGP. That's great. On top of that, SD-WAN capabilities, being able to have FEC and ZTP and packet racing all together is now table stakes on the SD-WAN market. Application SLA, I'm going to deep dive a bit on that because I think that's a great benefit of the solution. And network security. So again, that's another topic I want to discuss with you people because now that customers are more and more leveraging internet breakouts, they need to have a proper security and to make sure that they don't have to back all the internet traffic to their data center or regional data centers, but instead leverage their local internet breakouts. So they need the security stack for that. And of course, Riverbed is well known for our application acceleration blades. So that's what we are bringing also here, as well as some orchestration and visibility pieces that we are well known for. So the first use case I wanted to share with you is traffic steering based on application SLA. So I think this is a real differentiator on the market because for example, here, you can connect your branches to Azure or to AWS or any other cloud providers with an SD-WAN appliance, a SteelConnect EX appliance in the cloud. And what you want to do is to be able to consume some of the cloud services, like Microsoft just announced the Windows Virtual Desktop. So how can you make the experience the best? With application SLAs. So you can define, and we'll see that in a demo with Brandon, that you define SLAs in terms of what is the latency, what is the jitter, what is the available bandwidth per link for that particular app. So we are tracking the performance of that particular app, so RDP in this particular case, and I'm checking on all links what is the best path. And at any point of time, I can switch to a better path to make sure that the experience for my users will be the best. And if my network is impacted by any degradation, like I'm getting more packet loss or latency is increasing, I can also automatically enable FEC and packet racing, which is not enabled by default if you don't want to. Because you don't have to surcharge your network with those mechanisms that are efficient only when you have packet drops and only for specific applications. So
the logical extension here is that the SteelConnect EX is your path dynamics module. Versa has a path dynamics engine of its own, but you're just not choosing to use that.
No, we are using it. We are leveraging it. Yeah.
But you're using SteelConnect to drive the flow control or the application detection.
So SteelConnect EX embeds Versa.
Yeah.
We are embedding their mechanisms like FEC and traffic path steering to do so.
Yeah.
And on top of that, so here we don't see, this is not a use case for application acceleration necessarily, but we'll discuss that. We see also a need for customers to stop choosing between performance and security. So far, we have seen many enterprise customers. They were backhauling all their internet traffic because that's the way they were doing it, and because they have invested in a very complex security stack in their regional data centers or central data centers. So they were backhauling everything via MPLS, and then they started to backhaul everything via internet thanks to the first generation of SD-WAN, because they can form overlays over the internet, but still they were backhauling all the internet traffic in a DC. But now with a solution like ours, they can enforce security in the branch and make sure that they will get the best performance. So it's not anymore a trade-off between performance and security, where on one side, backhauling everything through a hub will give you the best security, but the performance will be bad because you are increasing latency, and eventually you will congest your central gateways. So here we can help, of course, with our acceleration. But what we are seeing more and more as a demand from large customers is how they can leverage the direct internet breakout and make them secure, because the performance is good, they have less latency. Potentially with SD-WAN now you have even more bandwidth than you used to have with different internet broadband connection. So what you want now is to address the problem of security in this branch, and that could be achieved with our advanced native security features or with third parties VNF as well, because we have qualified a number of them. So if you have your favorite Palo Alto or Checkpoint VNF, you can still run them as a VNF on top of the box. So as part of the Versa stack, we are also getting next generation firewall capabilities with IPS, antivirus, malware protection, URL filtering, and more and more. And we will discuss in more details the security aspect of it with Vince later on. I want to discuss about application acceleration as well, because there has been a lot of confusion on the market, mainly brought by other SD-WAN vendors about application acceleration and the need for WAN optimization. So let me remind you the basics of WAN optimization. So basically, you have an appliance on each side of the network, where you have your client sitting and servers. And what we do is that, first of all, we are compressing everything. You're just applying zip compression, so to remove some bytes from the network. The other one is, which is more efficient, and is what we call SDR for scalable data referencing, which is our dedupe mechanism. So basically, we are looking at the sequence of bytes, and we are attaching references to them, so we don't send them across the network anymore. So once we have seen them, we can just send a reference instead of a long sequence of bytes. So if you have a picture in a PowerPoint, and you are sending the same picture via email or via Word, we'll see that sequence of bytes being the same, and we just send a reference. So that helps customers to remove a lot of traffic from their network. So this is where people were using our appliances mainly because that was a way for them to reduce the impact on their MPLS. So this was also a way to reduce the cost. Yeah.
But if you compress first and apply the duplication after,
we do dedupe and zip. Yeah.
Sorry.
That's not the sequence. There are different sequences, but indeed zip will come later on. But we start with caching, and those two techniques are helpful to remove a lot of traffic from the network. We see that some customers are getting 90% of data reduction across their application for their WAN. So that's quite useful, and there are some interesting use cases that are still valid that we will discuss. The third one is TCP optimization. And there are new stack, of course. There's Quick. There are some apps that are using UDP as well, but TCP is still the standard, and we are still using it a lot. And TCP has some flaws when we have latency and packet drops because of different effects that like naggle or also slow start on the side of TCP windows. So those are mechanisms that we can optimize. We can make better to work across a big network and with latency. So TCP TCP optimization is a mechanism that we are also leveraging in our technology. But I think the fourth one is clearly where Riverbed had a big differentiator. And this is related to apps. So basically, we worked with some of the big vendors like Microsoft, and we have an ongoing partnership for the past 14 years, with Microsoft to understand their protocols and to make them even more efficient. So we can intercept them, like SharePoint Online, like SMB 3.1. We can optimize. We understand SSL. We can decrypt SSL. We can intercept SSL. The way a proxy or a firewall would do it. But why we are doing it, it's because we want to see inside the SSL, the TLS 1.2 inner channel, so to be able to decrypt, to do all the compression, the dedupe mechanisms, and then accelerate the application itself.
Including HTTP 3, so TLS 1.3?
Not yet. It's in the work.
Right.
So we support TLS 1.2 at the moment, and HTTP 2, but not.
And what happens when people start into adding things like HSTS and client certificate validation? So a lot of banks are now applying client certificate validation, so you can't intercept.
So we can. There are ways for us to do it. So the way we would do it is that we let the client and the server exchange the certificates, and then we came into play. But for that, we need to make sure that we have a proxy certificate that has been validated by the customer itself. So to be able to do that. But yes, there are ways for us to do it, and we do support that. Right. And we also integrate with HSM. So some security vendors like Thales, they are offering some, and the big banks and governments are using those kind of equipment.
If only the Thales was actually secure. Turns out those boxes are highly insecure. They're trivial to crack.
Indeed. So with TLS 1.3, it should be a bit better, but still there are ways of, intercepting the traffic apparently. So.
Okay. I'm a bit dubious because once you validate the client certificate, if your certificate appears, the proxy certificate appears, then it breaks the session.
So that's true. So if we look at what TLS 1.3 was meant to be at the beginning, that's true. It should have been like this. But if you look at the specs now, there are some ways where you can allow someone to intercept.
They corrupted it. Yeah.
Or make it some interception for doing good things like firewalls and application acceleration, for example.
Well, I think we're seeing a lot of the banks turn on TLS, like send on certificate validation. So if you're coming out of a proxy, it's just too bad. We won't connect to you. So that's a good thing because people have smartphones and apps. So it's not a bad thing. So it's not a bad thing overall. Yeah.
So are you suggesting that you are doing SSL interception and acceleration without an intermediate certificate? In other words, without a customer signed certificate?
No.
You still need the...
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we need that. No.
Sorry, it sounded like for a second you were saying that the only way to get around the client certificate thing was to have a customer signed certificate. And I was...
No, sorry.
Okay.
No.
Sorry.
I was like, I kind of figured you needed one anyway.
So the way we do it, though, is quite secure because we don't need a proxy certificate to be installed on all appliances. We just need that to be installed in a server-side appliance.
Yeah.
Because we have a secret way of distributing the new keys to our cloud SteelHeads. Our branch SteelHeads or client SteelHeads.
Yeah, then you end up with the actual session encryption key being passed back to the end.
It's a
along those lines.
different encryption keys. Yeah. So actually, we use the proxy certificate to create a new SSL connection between the client SteelHead and
server.
Control it.
Hey,
No, I know what you mean, yeah.
No?
We probably shouldn't, but
Okay.
yeah, if it takes you off course, don't.
Yeah, it would.
Okay, then don't.
Okay. So yeah, those four mechanisms like zip compression, SDR for data reduction are really key for saving bandwidth. And then we have TCP optimization and of course, application-specific acceleration for SMB, for Oracle, for SharePoint, for HTTPS, and a bunch of other protocols that our customers are using. So those help a lot of customers to mitigate the impact of latency. So as you may know, we have a strong suite of products, NPM, so for network performance management, and those tools are great for troubleshooting and understanding what's going on the network. And one of them is called Transaction Analyzer. In this tool, I've been using it as a customer, I've been using it as a partner, and still using it at Riverbed. Is great to understand what's going on and how your application behaves on the network. What does it mean is that we have ways of analyzing some transactions and identifying what are the main contributors to the response time for a specific transaction. So in this particular example, we can see that there's a lot of blue, which is basically the main contributor to this response time of 15 seconds. So between those two hosts, we spent most of the time for network transfer. So basically, here, there's a need for more bandwidth. That's the only way to answer that. And there are possible solutions. So you could do bandwidth upgrades. So you have probably a cheaper bandwidth with your MPLS providers. So that's a way of doing it. You can add more capacity with SD-WAN now because you can add more broadband connections for cheaper price. So it's another way of doing it. But in certain situations, you have no choice, like on satellite or in remote, situation where bandwidth is still very expensive, and still happens. So SteelHead helps a lot here because of the mechanism we discussed, like zip and data reduction. Another example where packets never lie is that with Transaction Analyzer, we can identify that latency has a big impact, and latency is impacting the number of application turns, because the more application turns you have across the network, the more latency has an impact on your response time. So in this case, we can see that latency and network transfers are the most responsible for bad performance. And the ideal solution is really us. It's SteelHead. That's what we have been built for, to mitigate those problems. I mean, go with SD-WAN. You will solve this problem. You will have more bandwidth, but you won't be able to cover that. You won't be able to address that. So if it is a business critical app, this is what our customers are using.
That's partly true. I'll take you to task, because quite often if I shift from a 100 meg MPLS circuit to a gig at the branch, which is common, right?
Yeah.
Or to move from 10 meg MPLS to 100 meg internet, I've removed the point of latency.
So the latency induced by the network, yeah, that's true. But if we speak about latency between Australia and Europe,
there's nothing you could, that's what I'm saying. I'm just challenging you, yeah.
That's correct.
There are situations where SD-WAN solves the latency problem because it changes the last mile, and the last mile is often the slowest part of the circuit. So for the majority, we can argue about how far. But yes, if you've got speed of light, or you're in a bandwidth constrained area of regional America or regional Australia or something like that, then the latency can't be changed just by speeding up the tail circuit. So it's not a straightforward answer. It's a grey area.
It is a grey area, and this is why we have tools for identifying whether it's needed or not, and what is the best answer. Right. And for that, our partners are using it, and our major customers are using it also to do this kind of assessments, because it's always good to have medicines, drugs available, but you need to find why you have a pain before trying something, I guess. So that's what we are doing here.
Yeah, I can go with that.
And in this case, and that's quite often. I mean, customers are complaining about bad performance. And our professional services organization is coming in and doing some troubleshooting and helping our customers to understand what the root cause is, saying that it was the network. And no, in this case, it's not the network. It's yellow. It's server processing. So we spend more than 50% here, 60% on just processing the requests. It's not the network. So adding more bandwidth, adding more, SteelHead will not solve the problem. So you can investigate further with, going into the resources and eventually drill down into the code with APM tools. So we have for that a suite of tools called App Internals that will give full visibility in what's going on that particular server and also how this server connects to other servers. But the answer will not come from the network. So wanted to highlight here that we have a SteelHead for every need, meaning that, as Dante said earlier, we have the hardware appliances, how we started the business. We have mobile, so the agent that we deploy on Mac and Windows machines, but also the cloud version of it and the SaaS version of it. And I'm going to talk about Office 365. We'll have a cool demo with Brandon afterwards, because there are a situation where the performance of SaaS varies. To your point earlier, I mean, you would expect everything to be optimized and working well. I mean, in somehow those applications are good. They are good, but the way you consume it, or because you are a nomad user, or because your network at your company has not been designed for, is impacting the performance of that particular app. So. Depending on the way you are consuming it, if you are just in a branch in the US, in San Francisco, where you have 200 meg of bandwidth, or 200 gig of bandwidth, whatever, and you are 10 milliseconds away from Microsoft, then the performance is great. But if you are using it from a distant branch in Australia, or even in the middle of central US, then latency might impact that and impact the experience for end users. The fact that many customers are still backhauling all their traffic through regional hubs for security reasons also brings up a lot of latency and changes in terms of bandwidth, and then your security stack may also add more latency because they have to scrub everything. So that adds a lot of delays and impact the user experience. And finally, also, when I'm moving around, when I'm traveling, when I'm in Europe and I'm using Salesforce, to be honest, it's very slow. It's a nightmare to use. So because I'm used to have good performance because I'm sitting in San Francisco, very close to the Salesforce tower. So the user experience is not good. So this is why we designed SaaS Accelerator. And this is the SaaS service that we are offering. So what we have measured, and we did some measure with agents in many places in the world to see in different conditions and different network conditions and also latency, what is the performance. And on average, we were getting 8 times faster end user experience for SharePoint and for Microsoft Teams. So Microsoft Teams, for example, is all about collaboration. So I'm working with you, Ethan. I just want to send you a big file, and it takes forever. That's not a good experience. So that's where we are helping customers. We have reference customers. They are sharing that they are getting on average 33% improvement on SharePoint alone, because SharePoint is often customized. It's often AV, and on your network, there's a big impact. So on Salesforce, we have also good numbers in Box as well. And there are more services that we are supporting, like Viva, which is a service for pharmaceutical industry, and ServiceNow, and more to come. The way we do it, Ethan?
Well, are you getting these numbers because of, like you mentioned, you guys had a partnership with Microsoft earlier, that you were digging in deeply into the protocols and getting a specialized understanding. So is that technology unique then? I mean, you're mentioning Viva here. I'm not familiar with them, but are these all like special alignments that you've done around these applications, or is this generically applicable to anything I want to run between here and public cloud?
Some techniques would be generally applicable to any apps, and we could open to many other apps, but we want to qualify them to make sure that we are not impacting the performance by doing extra stuff. But for SharePoint specifically, we have a blade which has been designed to better understand how web dev works and how we can make it faster across the WAN. But other mechanisms like bandwidth reduction, it's applicable to anything, and HTTP2 type of protocols, those are also accelerated by default. So any apps potentially could be accelerated indeed.
You were mentioning end user experience improvements of 8x, 10x, and so on those other slides. Do we have other slides that are more detailed in how you're quantifying that user experience measurement? So
the way we do it is that we have on the other part of the business a product which is called Eternity. Eternity measure. So the Eternity is agent-based that you deploy on workstations. It could be on Mac. It could be on the Windows laptops, and we are actively measuring the experience for all the apps. And we did the experience with a fleet of customers or even users, Riverbed users eventually, spread over the world, where we are measuring the population without application acceleration and some with. And we are comparing, and this is how we ended up with the difference.
So Eternity is doing a transaction measurement then?
Yes. So so basically with Eternity, you are tracking all the everything which is happening on your laptop, and also you have the concept of activities that we are tracking. So an activity is a workflow or is a set of transactions that you want to measure. So it could be more complex than just a transaction, because it could be a set of transactions, a workflow. So the way we are offering this SaaS service is through a SaaS offering. So basically, when you subscribe to this environment, you will get access to our SCM, which is the orchestrator, that will spin up a cluster of cloud SteelHead in close to the SaaS provider, as in for Office 365. So you select the region you want to be deployed. Say I have my Office 365 tenant in Amsterdam, so I'm going to spin up a cluster of cloud SteelHead in Amsterdam, or Salesforce here in San Francisco, or whatever. So depending on the service provider, you can select where you want, and depending also where your tenant is hosted, you will spin up a cluster of cloud Accelerator next to the SaaS provider, and that's managed service by Riverbed.
Okay, so now we've got multiple POPs throughout the world. I can now instantiate a VNF instance of an EX, or this is the SaaS Accelerator.
That's the SaaS Accelerator.
And then I would forward the traffic into it. Where's the redirection function coming from?
So that's done by either a SteelHead appliance or SteelConnect appliance, or a mobile agent.
Okay.
So the mobile agent.
So now once I'm in there, you're now using the acceleration functionality in your appliance then to accelerate. Are you actually building a backbone bypass? So are you then trunking it, say, over the AWS backbone or the Google backbone?
So at the moment, we are doing it on the Azure backbone, because everything is spin up on our offering is hosted on Azure.
You're using Azure as your underlay for now, so then you're taking on board Azure backbone to transport the packets around. So
that's correct.
You get an acceleration benefit by using their backbone because it's higher quality than most internets. It has an optimized path quite often, so there's an acceleration there as well.
That's correct.
And that's a proven model. There are several vendors in that space.
That's correct.
That's proved out that this works well. So in theory, combining it with your protocol acceleration or your WAN acceleration engine gives you an even further advantage. So you're using a better backbone, and then you're putting the appliances in the cloud, redirecting it in, and then getting the acceleration benefits as well.
That's correct. And Dante didn't discuss that, but there are plans to enhance that.
You'll grow
capabilities.
Land and expand.
Yeah. Exactly. So what is, I think really important here to highlight is that the fact that even from a Steel and Mobile clients, you can benefit from that acceleration. And we know that with our enterprise customers, they were not deploying hardware appliances everywhere because they didn't feel the need for that, or because they had too many sites to cover. But with an agent solution, then they can address some performance issues, even if in small sites where the hardware model would be probably a bit challenging in terms of TCO for one particular customer. And when they are moving, when they are nomad, then they are also able to benefit a lot from that experience. So everything is orchestrated. We will see that with Brandon in the demo. We will be able to spin up an environment and quickly get access to the performance. I wanted to highlight this as well. We are an SD-WAN vendor, but this particular solution is SD-WAN vendor neutral, meaning that if a user has chosen another solution in Riverbed for SD-WAN, it would work. It will work. So I've heard many customers telling us, yeah, it looks really cool, but I decided to go with a VE vendor. Yeah, but I mean, if you have problems that are not solved by SD-WAN, look at it. It works with other SD-WAN vendors. There's no magic. There's nothing that SD-WAN would prevent the product to work. So you can use it.
So where is it available? Is it just the US, just North America?
No, it's available worldwide. So basically, it's a SaaS offering that you can subscribe to, and you decide we will see. That will be probably more interesting to deep dive into the demo with Brandon later on, because actually when you deploy this solution or the cluster, you select the region where you want this to be deployed. So, for example, I'm in Australia. I'm using an Office 365 tenant in Australia. So I'm going to deploy this solution in Australia.
So it's available there. Okay.
Yeah.
This is just the SaaS acceleration, right?
That's correct.
So there are many companies in this space doing the backbone bypass stuff. I just call it all backbone bypass. And so you're able to VIPTEL all those, and you're saying you're now a viable supply alternative to those suppliers. You'll take the traffic and transport it. That's correct.
For this particular use case, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another use case I wanted to share with you is the Egress use case that our customers are sharing with us. So Ingress, when you send traffic to the cloud, it's free. But when you are extracting traffic or you are consuming traffic from or your apps from the cloud, now it's billable. And interestingly enough, we had some customers sharing that they are spending a lot of money on this egress traffic. So I just wanted to ask with you guys whether you had that feedback as well from enterprise customers where they're spending millions a year just to consume the data that they put in the first place in the cloud. Is that something that you are seeing?
Yes.
Okay.
For those customers who are actually smart enough to know.
Exactly, to my second point, where basically it's difficult to assess how much, or you have to drill down into the billing and see what's going on AWS or Azure or any other cloud provider to be able to have a sense of how much you spend on the egress traffic itself. So SteelCentral NPM has been around for a while. It works. We are collecting flows and packets from many vendors. We are also able to do a CLI command to many vendors as well, and collecting health information and performance information from the network. And one of the way of getting that type of information is to go and grab packets and flows from the cloud. So it could be from the cloud provider itself, so via, for example, Azure Taps or VPC flows, or packets from our agents that you can deploy on your servers or on your Kubernetes nodes, or also with a a cloud SteelHead, for example, or cloud brokers like Ixia or Big Switch. So we are able to collect all those flows and analyze that, and then do some nice reporting and giving you the visibility on how much traffic is leaving your VPC to go to the internet, to go to another region, to go to another availability zone, because even within a region between two availability zones, you will have to pay. So that would give you the visibility. But then, what's the answer? Once you have that visibility, you will be able to identify whether you want to have, whether you identify some servers that should not go outside and consume this traffic. A way of reducing it is to use Cloud Accelerator. So our SteelHead that we put in the cloud are able to reduce dramatically the impact of those apps on the egress side because of the data reduction. So for all your users that are consuming from your SD-WAN fabric your apps in the cloud, then you can accelerate them and reduce the impact of the traffic on the network, so save a lot of money. We have a customer is saving 58% on the egress thanks to our solution. So the traditional way that we are doing it, because the cloud is not a network, Azure and AWS networks are not networks, they are databases. So the traditional way for us to intercept the traffic is different. So for that to be able to work, we are using agents. We have been using it. I mean, this solution was released in 2012. So we have been enhancing it over time, but it has been there for a while, and now we are seeing more and more customer adopting the cloud. There is those type of use cases are surfacing. So here, with an agent you can deploy on the server, you are able to redirect the connection so we can optimize it. And we are looking also at other ways, and I wanted to pick your brain on that one as well, because we wanted to, we believe in making more cloud-native products and leveraging the cloud-native bricks to make better products. So here is a way for us to have a scalable solution, which is leveraging the Azure load balancer. I'm picking on Azure. I could do the same on AWS or any other vendors. Because last week I was at Ignite, that's probably why also. But here we have a load balancer that will load balance across multiple SteelHead, and we can scale up and scale down. So that's the way we intercept. The other way of interception the other mechanism that we are using here is UDRs. So basically, again, the network is a database. So it's not a network as we know, where we can bridge. We have this appliance bridging between a switch and a router and doing the interception. That's not something that can happen in the cloud because it doesn't exist. So the only way for us is to influence that database and define the next hop, saying that for this guy to be able to reach to my servers, and vice versa, I need to go via an next hop, which is managed by the UDRs. And also how we manage high availability. We manage it leveraging the SLAs of Azure for their premium VMs, but also leveraging logic apps, for example, to track the performance of a specific app or a specific node, and making sure that everything is available. And if we are running out of capacity, then the logic app, we can spin up a new environment, or spin down if we have too much capacity, because we don't want to spend so much in so many SteelHeads. So having a cloud-native approach would help us to deliver better products to our customers. And I don't know whether you saw that last week, but there are some interesting announcements made by different cloud providers, but Microsoft in particular.
Yep.
They announced the private links, where basically this piece could be delivered as a service, and you just ask a private link in your VNet, and that's made available.
Yeah.
So that could be a way of offering cloud-native services.
That works as long as you're charging 9 cents a megabyte for traffic, right? Or 9 cents a gigabyte, whatever the number is. I think it's 9 cents a megabyte. And when you're also transferring traffic between zones, they charge you for the networking traffic, right? In the public clouds. And what's happening is people somewhere down the line suddenly realise that 15% of their cloud bill is network traffic.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
But not many people realise that, or a lot of people just go like, I don't care. And there's always so that's one thing. First of all, getting customers to realise that there's a problem when they don't have a problem. That's an awful lot of money you've got to spend in salespeople knocking on doors and telling them you've got a problem and you don't know it. That's a tough sell. And the second one is it's also entirely possible that they'll just knock the network traffic down. So it's a good profit centre today, but that doesn't mean they can't reduce the price and then this product becomes less desirable.
That's correct.
Fluid.
I would say it's not why we have Cloud SteelHead in the first place in Azure or AWS. Let's say it's a use case that we have identified recently because customers shared that they are using our technology to address that particular needs, and we went because again our vision of the world is to make application faster.
Yeah.
So that's the soft benefit. That's a nice benefit of the solution to be able to give better performance to get access.
Yeah. So you're still doing application acceleration,
Yeah, it's the same
side-to-side acceleration.
Exactly.
Yeah, all the other features. But this is all. These aren't separate products per se. These are all features that you're talking about in the same product.
It's it's a use case which is out of the box, available using the default features that we have in the product.
Right. But still the same, SteelConnect
Exactly.
EX.
SteelHead. Yeah.
And then you're just saying this is a use case. I can
Exactly.
cut the bandwidth in the cloud. Yeah.
That's correct.
Use an old horse and teach it new tricks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Why not? So the goal of that session again was to surface some of those use cases that are not well known and give get some feedback from you guys and with that share with your followers to get a sense of what they think about it. I want to thank you for your attention. You can find more answers on our YouTube channels. So Brendan and I and the rest of the team are building a lot of videos explaining the how-tos and all the deep dive on our technology. And our community website is available, as well as our GitHub, where we are publishing more and more scripts to deploy such runbooks that we have seen. Thank you.